Hello. Welcome to the Bureau of Mysteries Archive Record 453-A. My name is, and today's word is isolation. The effects can be difficult to predict, especially on the unprepared mind. The year is 1900, at a lonely lighthouse off the northwestern coast of Scotland. Operations have been running smoothly for the past year, thanks to the experienced men who've been stationed there, until one day when the lights go out and the men vanish without a trace. The Flannan Isles are a group of 7 islands that lie within the brutal seas off of Scotland's northwestern coast. Also called the Seven Hunters, the archipelago was rarely visited, except for shepherds looking to graze their sheep. Locals believed that the isles contained supernatural properties, and that a malevolent spirit would appear if anyone was dumb enough to stay past nightfall. The lighthouse was first lit on December 7th, 1899, just in time for the new century. A crew of 4 men were hired to keep the beacon lit every night. They would work in rotating shifts, both to see their families and to keep their sanity. 3 men working with 1 on shore. Each keeper would spend 6 weeks on duty and then 2 weeks on the mainland, ensuring that there were always 3 men tending the light. The crew consisted of James Ducat, the principal keeper with 22 years of experience, William Ross, the first assistant keeper, Thomas Marshall, the second assistant keeper, and Joseph Moore, a third assistant keeper. At the time of the disappearances, William Ross was on sick leave, and Joseph Moore was on shore leave. This left Donald MacArthur, an occasional keeper, to fill the 3rd place. On December 15, 1900, the steamship Arctur was sailing into Scotland from Philadelphia. It had made this trip a few times before when it noticed something off this time. A light from the Flannan Isles lighthouse was missing. The ship's captain made a note of this, but he was unable to finally report it until the ship pulled in on December the 18th. After receiving news that things may have gone wrong, the Northern Lighthouse Board put together a crew, including relief keeper Joseph Moore, to go check things out. The team was supposed to arrive on the 20th, but due to severe storms ravaging the area, they weren't able to arrive until the 26th. When the crew finally arrived, it was immediately apparent that something was off. They noticed that atop the flagpole was empty, and that no one had come down to greet them. Breaking the silence of the waves, the ship's captain shot off a single flare and sounded the whistle, but no response ever came. With no answer from the island, relief keeper Joseph Moore and a few others gathered in a small boat to go investigate. Moore was put ashore while the others stayed behind at the landing. As he makes his way up the steep rise, he notices something unnerving about the building. The main door and the front gate are both closed. Stepping inside, he finds that the clocks had stopped, the beds were unmade, and the fireplace was empty. The building was completely silent. Moore quickly returned to get help checking the island. 2 sailors accompanied him to search more thoroughly. As they combed the area, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and the missing keepers were nowhere to be found. The lighthouse and the eastern landing were both completely intact, but the same couldn't be said for the island's west landing. The west landing consisted of a crane, equipment box, and small railway car that was used to move heavy cargo up to the building. The men found that the railing had been sheared, the equipment box destroyed, and a 1-ton rock had been displaced. Damage to locations like this was not unusual, but what made this particularly interesting is that the west landing lied 108 feet above sea level. Even more shocking, vegetation an additional 100 feet above the west landing had been ripped clean from the ground. Something great hit the island on the west side, something with immense force. A few of the crew, including Joseph Moore, stayed on the island until a proper investigation could be conducted and the lighthouse restaffed. On December 29th, Northern Lighthouse Board investigator Robert Moorhead arrived on the scene and began reviewing the facts. The clocks, the beds, the fireplace, the prepared light room, the west landing. Here's what he concluded. I was satisfied that the men had been on duty until dinner on Saturday, the 15th of December. That they had gone down to secure a box in which some mooring ropes, landing ropes, etc. were kept, and that an extra large sea had rushed up the face of the rock, had gone above them, and coming down with immense force, had swept them completely away. At the time, investigator Moorhead's theory was the prevailing explanation for what happened. However, superstitious locals had other ideas. Rumors of aliens, ghosts, and sea monsters were commonplace. Recent theories have presented other possibilities. One popular idea is that of insanity due to the light room. This is because the lens housing floated on a bed of mercury, which would lead to a vapor forming inside the light room and causing insanity within the minds of particularly susceptible individuals. Some think that perhaps one of the men fell into the sea and the others were swept away while trying to rescue him. Others think that a fight may have broken out on the cliff edge, leading to the men being swept away. Throughout the centuries since the three men's disappearance, many speculations have been made. Unfortunately, nothing has come back as conclusive. Ultimately, we may never truly know what happened. While an exact cause of disappearance cannot be determined, a freak deep one hunting cannot be ruled out. We would like to remind any agents stationed on remote islands to always have their mandatory locators attached to their ankles for easy cadaver retrieval. This has been Bureau of Mysteries Record 453-A.